Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. The first thing says God put Adam in the garden to tend and keep it. God put Adam in the garden to tend and keep it. There's a few things that I want you to learn from this passage. The first one is God placed Adam. He placed him. God placed him in an environment for success. The garden was a perfect environment created for him and all the animals and all the trees and all these different things. It's perfect temperature. It wasn't constantly changing. It wasn't cold and hot. It wasn't like he had to go out and look for food or look for water. It was a perfect environment for him to grow in and for him to do all God had created for him to do. He knew that everything Adam needed to be successful was within the garden. Even if he didn't see it at first, even if he didn't understand it at first, everything Adam needed was in the garden. So you have to ask yourself, where has God placed me? Where has God placed me? And I'm not just talking about on the map. I'm not just talking about physically. But where has God placed you? And if you feel he's placed you somewhere, are you flourishing? Because the question to ask if you feel like God has placed you somewhere is, does that environment have everything you need to flourish? Why don't I keep saying flourish? Psalm chapter 92, verse 13. Those that are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. Now, do I think that means you have to just stay here at 400 Sunset for the rest of your life? No, that's not what I think it says. People twist it to make it seem like that. Those are weird preachers. Okay. But are you planted where the Lord wants you? Are you planted in the house that he's created for you? Are you planted in the friend group that he has for you? Are you planted in the job that he has for you? Come on, let's just make this real life for a few moments. Are you planted in the neighborhood that he has for you? So we have to be placed by God in a certain environment, and then we have to give God enough time to begin to grow us. Because it wasn't right away that God said it's not good for man to be alone. There was some time in between. Depending on what you believe about the creation story and how this was written, it could have been years and years and years. Maybe it was a couple days, maybe it was a couple minutes. But Adam was living in his place before he started flourishing. He was planted there before he started to see the fruit. Before he started to see what the rest of his life was going to look like. Before God brought him a helper. And this may seem simple, and I am not a gardener. I do not have a green thumb, but I've been told that a plant has to stay planted long enough in one place for it to begin to bear fruit. You can even move a plant from a good place to a good place, and if you do that enough, it'll die. It's not that you're always moving it from a good environment to a bad environment. It could be a good environment to a good environment to a good environment, but if you move it enough and don't leave it in place long enough to begin to grow and to begin to flourish, it'll end up dying. And so I want to ask you, have you stayed in a place long enough for God to begin to grow things in you? For you to begin to see fruit, for you to begin to grow? What's your place? Is there a group of people? Pastor Jeremy mentioned it, but we have connect groups here, and this isn't just like an advertisement. I didn't even know he's going to talk about that really, but if you don't know where to go, that's why we have connect groups, because it's like, hey, you can just show up. At least it's someone. It may not be the perfect situation. You may take a minute to kind of get things figured out. I think this is one of the reasons this isn't a plug for our church. I'm not saying just Oasis, but there is a place for you where even some people may go to a church or go to a group of believers, and maybe it doesn't seem like a great fit at first, but are you staying long enough to really grow roots and to begin to see the fruit come forward?